It's a bye week, and it's time to start looking forward. LSU is next on the docket, but that's not until next week. Mike Huesmann's here. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Joining me is Mike Huesmann. It's we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Like I said, Mike Huesmann is back. It was so great. He decided to make a return trip. We didn't treat him too badly. No, I'm just kidding. It's always great to have you back, man. Mike Huesmann from Off Season After Dark, man. We got a lot to unpack from this Bama game. We're going to look forward a little bit. We're going to talk about Vandy's remaining schedule and just kind of how these teams look and the chances of I kind of alluded to it on the last episode. And so we're going to kind of take a look at what's ahead for Vanderbilt because it is a bye week. How does Vandy get these wins? What do the other teams look like? We're going to unpack a lot of that stuff. But let's talk about Diego Pavia first, Mike. What did you see in that game from Diego Pavia? I know statistically it was horrible, had 2 turnovers. You know, he talked all the trash and all the stuff that surrounded Diego Pavia. Do you still feel good about his abilities as quarterback? Can he brush this behind him, or what are your overall thoughts on that?
I'm going to say something that's very much an oxymoron. Outside of the turnovers, he was pretty good. Of course, we can't separate the two of them. The turnovers were massive. The fumble and then the late interception I felt like was kind of the dagger because they were still in it. Bama got the field goal. Then they threw the pick. I do think he can rebound from it, and play at a level that we're accustomed to him playing at. And I'm not saying, that's a Heisman candidate, elite level player, but a very good SEC QB who is a team leader that can help you win games and get to a bowl game. I absolutely think he can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And to me, it just felt like he had some off moments, but I mean, it just felt like he was leading them down the field. He was making plays early in the game. He was creating space. He was doing a good job finding open receivers fairly early, and then Bama clamped down. And to me, it just felt like he panicked, the play calling panicked, and just kind of the overall operation as Bama started squeezing like a boa constrictor. It just felt like the harder he tried to get out of it and the harder he tried to make a play, it just seemed like the worse it got for him, whether he was scrambling, had to throw it away, took a sack, threw the interception. Like those type of things happened with him. And he just got too wrapped up in, I think, trying to prove everybody wrong. He had Johnny Manziel on the sideline. Theo Vaughn was the celebrity guest picker. Like a lot of things were happening around him that I think were distracting. He let the Bama student section get in his head because they were getting all over him, and he had the crotch grab, which I there's other ways to interact with the student section. Like every other quarterback in the history of the SEC interacts with every student section when they're being like that. But like, I feel like there's only one other person that's ever, well, this is probably not true because I'm sure there's many others, but the one, the most high profile crotch grab before this was Baker Mayfield at Kansas. And he seemed to bounce back and he won a Heisman and all that good stuff. I'm not saying Diego Pavia.
He was also at the time one of the worst power conference teams. It was terrible too.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, I mean that helped too. But just the PR aspect of that whole thing, he seemed to bounce back from. I mean, obviously, first overall pick, he's cooking for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like he's super talented guy. I'm not talking about the play on the field. I'm really just talking about like the PR mess that it caused. Where I mean, it's just that's all you saw at SportsCenter was just him doing that. So for Diego Pavia, to me, Mike, he just has to. I think he has to just take a step back and just recalibrate and then go back in and still be himself. But he just I just think he let everything just kind of get to him a little bit, and that's uncharacteristic of him. He can usually play above some of that stuff.
And in that game, it was tough not to, because as the game went on, as the second half progressed, it tilted in Bama's favor, notably so. And you would use the snake analogy, but I think as it tilted more, and the options for what Vandy could do on offense just became more limited, and it made it so Bama could focus in on what they were going to do easier. And when you become, one-handed against teams like that, it's usually not going to end well. And Bama did what they had to do to put them away.
Yeah, and they did a stellar job of doing that. Ty Simpson certainly played his part, and this defense stood up as best as they could. I mean, they made them earn it. They made it difficult. Like, they had to get tough yards with Jam Miller. Like, I felt like that was the most earned 100 and some change yards that Jam Miller will probably ever earn or rush for. I felt like Ty Simpson, he took 4 sacks. He threw an interception. Like, Vandy's defense was able to get to him a little bit, obviously not enough, and their sideline defense was pretty lackluster. And their 2-minute drill, I would say their 2-minute defense was terrible, but it has to exist to be terrible. Yeah. And it was non-existent. Like, they didn't even try to cover anybody. There was no communication. I mean, the whole operation was just, I was going like, what are we like? Yeah.
When they were doing that, it had the appearance to me of nobody was on the same page. It was just you 11 guys on D, just go play. But there was no communication, no plan. It was just go up there and do your best.
Yeah,
you're not going to succeed at that level doing that.
No, not against a guy like that. Now, is he the best quarterback they'll face all year? For the rest of the year, I should say. For the rest of the season.
I mean, it's certainly possible. Simpson, you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Simpson.
Yes.
Him being.
Yes.
So you're looking at. Well,
there is a potential Nussmeier could be, but he's been so dinged up and underwhelmed.
Yeah,
that I'm going to say Simpson is. Yes.
Yeah, Nussmeier's a shell of himself right now.
He has
injury.
Yeah.
Certainly not because of ability, but because of injury.
That D is going to be tough for Vandy next week. LSU's D is legit.
Yeah, they are legit. Yeah. Then you have Missouri after that. So you got Bo Pribula, who is not being talked about a ton. Because it's a lot of the attention's on the run.
Ahmad Hardy show.
Ahmad Hardy, but Pribula is very, very sneaky good. I don't think he's Ty Simpson good, but he's going to be tough to contend with. Then you have
he doesn't have to be Ty Simpson good because of Hardy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Arch Manning, who their team is struggling. They're not going to be able to protect him.
No,
which it's not necessarily on Arch Manning. He's not playing poorly himself. It's the fact that he can't get comfortable. And he can't make the throws he wants to make. He can't sit in the pocket. He can't go through the reads, and I feel like Sark can't execute his offense.
We have 3 SEC teams in Florida, Texas, LSU. All are playing very good D and very underwhelming on offense up to this point in the season.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take that concept, and we're going to really focus on LSU because that's the next opponent. We'll kind of trickle out the rest of the schedule, but we're going to focus on LSU with just the dichotomy of their team right now, which is kind of strange, but we're going to do that next. But first, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents all the way down to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence throughout almost any season. So like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move or be moved. Have you ever have you ever thought about, and most people can't do this, but most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. You don't have to give me the numbers, but do you have a handle on all of your financial stuff?
I doubt it. Maybe. I don't know that I do. It would take me a while to write that down and look all that stuff up.
Yeah, I certainly don't either. Yeah. So when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table, and that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. So Monarch is built for people with busy lives like you and I. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and you finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I don't like Excel. I don't know how you feel about Excel, but it's for the birds for me. So
I'm not a big fan of it.
But what you love, I mean, doesn't it fire you up the potential of like just seeing everything in one place, and you can just look at, hey, I'm spending way too much on takeout, or man, I'm buying too much on Amazon. Like, does that fire you up?
It would be very handy for me in an easy way to help with the online banking and make it easier.
Absolutely. Well, don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at Monarch Money with code LOCKEDONCollege. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen in the network, Locked On SEC, right down there in the corner. Chris Gordy covers the entire conference. The whole family of shows, of SEC shows on the Locked On Network, are all phenomenal. From Locked On Ole Miss on down, it's great. So if you need another listen for another team, just stay within the SEC family. If you need an out-of-network listen, I'm telling you, Mike Huesmann from Offseason After Dark he's reaching GOAT status. So you might want to jump on board. You can say, hey, I knew Mike from the beginning. And you can be like, hey, I was a Mike Huesmann fan from the jump. So when you get famous and you get all these bandwagoners, you can be one of the original fans, and you can say, yeah, I know the it's like being a fan of a band and you know their B-side stuff just as well as you know their hits. Like, it's going to be like that with Mike. Like, you're going to be like, I remember when he was interviewing the guy from Utah State. You know, it's like, that's what you want. So anyway, projecting the rest of the season, so Vanderbilt is in a unique position, right? You take a loss to Bama, you prove you belong on the field, you go toe to toe. All things considered, you walk out of there feeling good relatively feeling good. Not you never feel good with a loss. I don't believe in moral victories, and I don't think anyone on the Vanderbilt team believes in moral victories. However, you can turn on that film and you can watch a lot of that ball game and come away going, I think we have something here. So with the remaining schedule, we're exactly halfway through. We're in the bye week. We've got 6 games left. We're gonna break it down even further. Is it possible to go 6-0 or 5-1 on this stretch?
I don't think so.
Okay. So let's start with LSU.
Okay.
LSU there's a dichotomy here with LSU. Stellar defense. Has supreme talent on offense. Can't figure out an identity.
No.
What do we make of this LSU team? I mean, I think all the games are winnable for Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's good enough to be able to win these games, but these games are also, like, if you break down, when we get into the nitty-gritty of breaking down these teams, like, they're gonna pose problems for Vanderbilt. But LSU offensively, like, what's up with them? Is it just because Nussmeier's banged up, they don't know what to do and how to handle themselves? Or is it truly like, we got all this influx of talent, but we just don't know what we have?
I think it's two major things, one of which is Nussmeier's not full strength. It's been tougher for them to replace their O-line than I thought it would be. They replaced 4 starters, and the guys they have there have not been, the caliber they were last year, where they had a very good O-line.
Yeah.
So their their run game is basically non-existent so far. We thought Caden Durham would be one of the better backs in the conference. He hasn't been, and I don't think that's his fault. I think it's because he's not getting any run lanes. They're not getting any push up front. They're just a mediocre at best O-line who's bottom half of the conference right now at that position group.
It's never easy to replace that caliber of offensive line. Either when you replace offensive linemen, like you really, I think the key to it is, because I think Vanderbilt's been relatively successful with this. Their 5-1 start proves this.
Yeah.
Like I think if you're replacing offensive linemen, it makes it even more important to have a solidified identity so that you know what type of players to get, because not all with offensive line play, not all talent is equal. You could have a super talented guy, but if it's not a good scheme fit, it's going to be a nightmare, right? Like I think if Vanderbilt went and got a bunch of 2-point stance pass protectors, I don't know that would work.
Yeah, the Mizzou's a team we've talked about. They're running the ball great. Their O-line is very good. Those guys would not be good for Vanderbilt just because of the zone style they play. It's not what Vandy does.
No, not at all. Yeah. It's Vandy's more of a gap scheme team.
Yeah.
They love running things off a counter. They love their best zone play is duo. That's what they scored on. And I love this debate because everybody's like, it's inside zone. Well, no, it's duo, because you look if you can count more than one double team and they don't come off of that double team, because usually in zone they'll double, but it's more of a combo where one guy comes off. And they love duo. That's like their zone play. But most of the time they get everything with power. They get it with counter. They'll fold the guard on the jet read stuff.
Jerry kill Staples for decades.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll occasionally, like, their zone play is more of an outside zone. Like if they're going to go zone, it's going to be stretch. It's going to be wide zone where, and people don't know the difference between stretch and wide zone. Stretch is like, I'm trying to get to the edge now. Yeah. Wide zone is you're pressing that edge with the intent on cutting back into the C gap. Yeah. Right? You're trying to widen that edge so that, and I'm getting real nerdy and real into the weeds here, but you're trying to widen that edge and you press it. And if they just don't widen, then you just keep pressing it and going. It's more of like a read. But if they widen, which they should, because they're not going to get beat on the edge, you cut right back under them, and there's a natural lane there. And that's where it can get kind of dangerous. And that's the Shanahan, the Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Alex Gibbs, zone stuff, like the stretch zone, the wide zones. They even have like a mid zone where you do the same thing, but it's in the B gap. It's like more of it's not like inside zone as an A gap play. Mid zone, wide zone, stretch is kind of how you progress through the zone running scheme. Missouri does a phenomenal job at that. Vandy dabbles more of a wide zone, more of a stretch with the jet sweep stuff. But they get, they'll get the shovel pass in. They'll pull people on the shovel pass. Even it's crazy. That's the power shovel. It's nuts.
They draw that up very nice.
Yeah. But the point of all of that I just went into, sorry for nerding out, but the point of all of that is if you don't have the right type of offensive lineman, like Vanderbilt has a perfect gap scheme offensive line, which is why they were able to replace, which is why they were able to even improve their offensive line, because Henderson is a mammoth down blocking. Chase Mitchell is a mammoth on a down block. You have an NFL center, and then you have your quick side. They also have a unique philosophy where they flip the guys too, which is kind of cool, but kind of nifty, kind of 1950s style. Yeah. So they have a very unique niche offensive line. So if they can go take chances on some guys, and they don't have to sign the 5-star offensive line. They have to sign a guy that's perfect fit for their scheme, which in recruiting rankings is not going to get you a whole lot of style points. But when you play like that, it doesn't really matter. So LSU replacing 2 offensive linemen, or replacing 4, but the tackles mostly are the most important thing. It just feels like they just weren't really sure, so they just wanted to just get the best guy and figure it out. And I don't think playing in the SEC you can really do that.
And that might be it. It might be that they picked the wrong guy for their scheme, or it might just be that the guys they picked need more experience, which, based on their preseason expectations, they weren't going to get. They were expected to dominate right away.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's not a recipe for success, because offensive line, Mike, and you've dabbled in some recruiting stuff, and you work with Mike Farrell, and you know just how hard it is to project offensive line. Like, you can't rank the offensive line.
It's tough.
It's like trying to predict the weather in Tennessee. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
O and D line are the positions more than most. I want to look at the recruits playing at bigger schools against the top level talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to see, I want to see them in, I want the pedigree matters. I think sometimes with O and D line. Like, I think you get a small school guy, and it's going to be hit or miss. Like, you might find a small school guy on the defensive line. He's like 260. He comes in, gains 20 pounds of straight steel, and then is a menace. So how does that project LSU? Like, what is Vandy's path to to giving LSU's offense fits? Like, because I know Vandy's defense can be kind of spotty, and I think that has to do with communication and the lack of experience. But, like, how do they give LSU fits?
So I think it's an incredibly close margin. I expect a very low scoring game between these two teams. Both teams are pretty tough on D. We don't talk about LSU being there. And outside of the turnovers and having, undesirable situations, Vandy played good on D against Bama. I think their path to winning is take away LSU's run game, which has been easy. There hasn't been much of a run game. Then in the pass game, you get your red guys to attack Nussmeier, who has been dinged up. If you get him moving even slower than he is and get their pass game on their heels, then you got a shot.
He can't make those off-platform throws that he did last year, because he just can't twist, he bend, and all that stuff. So we're just gonna continue breaking down stuff. It's a bye week, so we can kind of go in multiple directions. So we're gonna do that, but we're gonna do that next. Prize Pick Daily Fantasy. I love these type of games, man. They're all over the place. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of football this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. So playing Prize Picks is so fun. I love this. It's a simple way of doing daily fantasy meets sports book, right? Because you don't always have to pick with the spread. It adds a lot of excitement too. You can root for individual players, so you can go take your fantasy lineup and go into Prize Picks and just project your lineup and make money off your lineup, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. So I love how quick it is, man. You can just be sitting, waiting for your order, waiting for your takeout order. You can just boop, 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 make a quick lineup, and you're there, man. And Mike, they added this thing called stats. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So I can go, hey, Josh Allen, we know he's a universal guy. Boop, I'm gonna pick all of his stats, right? Because we know he runs the ball. We know he's going to throw. We know he's going to score a bunch of touchdowns, and we know he's going to throw for 1,000,000 yards. We love it. It's fun to follow other players in the app, copy their lineups with one click as well. So, like, pre-made lineups, you're like, oh, I like that. I'm just going to steal it. Bam. Also, injury reboot, man. Isn't it frustrating when you have a player, you feel really good about this selection. You're like, this one's going to be guaranteed, and they pull a hammy in the first quarter. Isn't that frustrating?
In my college fantasy league, I have John Mateer, so we can talk about the injuries all we want. Yes.
Yeah. Well, imagine if your fantasy league had an injury reboot feature to where if a player leaves early and doesn't return, it does not count against you. It's like almost like a mulligan.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
It'd be awesome. Like you could use that tremendously. So download the Prize Pick app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, wrapping up the show here. Locked on Vandy. Thanks for joining. Mike Huesmann, Off Season After Dark. Like I said, if you're missing out, you're missing out. So, Mike, we talked about LSU. Phenomenal defense. Garrett Nussmeier, we don't know if he's going to make it through even the South Carolina game. So he's kind of week to week almost with all of his injury concerns, and they have no running game. So they're kind of in a weird limbo. But outside of LSU, just projecting forward, this is a bye week, so we can look forward. What team would you say out of Vanderbilt's remaining schedule? I'll put it up here with kickoff times. You got Missouri, Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Out of those teams, where do you see, like, kind of just rank them from a winnability standpoint, just quickly, and we'll dive into some of your selections here.
I mean, Kentucky has to be the most winnable. I would think.
They're just awful.
They are, yeah. But I think most people would agree with that. Next most winnable, I have to go Auburn, just because they've not shown us that they can put a whole game together since Baylor, and they're not scoring many points. For all the good receivers they have, their passing game hasn't been great. After that, I would probably put Tennessee right in the middle of the five, rivalry game, end of the year. And that Tennessee defense is not great. They're allowing points to pretty much everybody. Then the last, Texas and Mizzou would be the two toughest. Based on matchups, I would probably say Texas next, and then Mizzou would be the toughest. Mizzou right now, the number 1 run D in the country, the number 10 pass D in the country.
It's a tough combo, but man, it's, coming into the season, I was like, when I was going through my win-loss with this schedule, I considered time slot too, and I was like, Missouri, we don't know much about Pribula, like Ahmad Hardy, if he's just the only thing in town, like they're going to be relatively easy to defend. That game suddenly becomes, to me, when I look at these 6 games, obviously winnability, Kentucky and Auburn has to be 1 and 2.
Yep.
Easily. To me, I think with the 11 a.m. kick, Arch, he's not necessarily struggling just as his own entity, but that offense is struggling because this offensive line hasn't and probably will not figure it out this season. It's going to be a struggle all year long, and Vanderbilt can give you fits. So I think outside of that, when you compare, because I think the next 2 are Texas and Tennessee, and I would say Texas, because Tennessee is, and they're both road games, but again, the rivalry thing, I think Aguilar is just more consistent of a quarterback than Arch Manning is right now. I think Tennessee can protect him. I think Tennessee's pretty electric and they can do some things. Defensively, obviously Texas has the edge there, but I think Texas right now is struggling so bad offensively that is like, and the same with LSU, like LSU's just kind of struggling to find an identity. So I think there's an edge there.
I understand that. Yeah. And I gave the nod to Texas over Tennessee just because that D is really good. I think Vandy has trouble scoring points on them. Yeah. Everybody is going to have trouble scoring points on them.
Yeah, that's true. But I think out of those 6 games, Missouri is definitely the least winnable, the toughest one that you have. But it is at home.
Yep.
And it's one of those flex games where it could be 2:30 game, depending on if Vandy can beat LSU, or it could be that 5 o'clock SEC network game, or 6 o'clock SEC network game. So it's going to be very intriguing just down the stretch of the season, how these teams progress, like how Vanderbilt comes off of the bye week. Can they refocus a little bit? Like, this Alabama game, if Vanderbilt has a 10-2 season with an outside shot at the playoff, I think you look at it as, hey, this Alabama game got them refocused.
Yeah. And anyone in the SEC or Big Ten, I think that wins 10, you're in the playoffs. Yeah. I think that's the magic number. Yeah. And I got to Wouldn't it be wild if you go in at if you're 9-2 going into the Tennessee game? Oh, that would be crazy atmosphere.
That would be electric, dude. Because like you go into Neyland, Neyland's going to be rocking, and that's just that's a game that you just go in fired up, and it's a game where I think if you're sitting at 9-2, it's one of those games where I think you almost have to protect Diego Pavia from himself in that situation, maybe because it was a situation. Hey, you can go 6-0 for the first time since 1928. Like the magnitude of this Alabama game, I think, again, scrambled Diego Pavia to where he got so hyped that he couldn't think straight, and I think it affected his ability to make rash decisions. And he got kind of distracted. He got distracted. Yeah. Tennessee's going to do a similar thing. Like teams are going to try to do that. Student sections especially are going to try to do that. They're going to talk about his mom. They're going to talk about Theo Vaughn. They're going to all start grabbing their crotch at him. Like they're going to start doing these things to bait him into taking his mind off of the task at hand, which is beating their team, or in Tennessee's sake, beating Tennessee. So, man, it's an exciting road ahead. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to gain from here, and I think Vanderbilt, again, they have a lot to learn from the Alabama experience. But I think everything they did wrong is fixable. It wasn't, and I said this. I said this last 2 episodes. It wasn't an avalanche of. It wasn't one of those tidal waves of, hey, it's just Alabama, and it's just a tidal wave, and they just overwhelmed you at a certain point. A little bit, but everything Vanderbilt did wrong to lose that game, they can fix. Like communication in cover 2, maybe they play less cover 2. They had more success in cloud coverages, quarters. They had more success in a more too high scheme to where they have athletic safeties enough to where they can run those guys down to the box and really make something happen against the run. So like I think they're good. I think they're good enough to be able to do that. They can play some more 2-shell type coverages where they have a little bit more success in covering the center of the field, and maybe having their corners the ability to either play like a soft 2, where their corners can release with a vertical route and carry it further up the sideline, so that so that somebody like Arch Manning, Bo Pribula
against Mizzou, you'll have to do that because your safeties will have to get involved in the run game.
Yeah. I mean, you'll probably play a lot more cover 1 robber,
absolutely
3, 3 cloud, any iteration of 3. Like you'll play a lot of single high stuff because of Ahmad Hardy. But Mike, always a great time. We should just make this a weekly thing. How about that? You want to do that?
I'm down.
Let's make this a weekly thing. Every this will be our Wednesday episode. So every Wednesday we'll just chat, man. We'll just we'll be more opponent centric. Next week we'll just break down. We'll do a deep dive into LSU and why I think
they got big game against Gamecocks this weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. All eyes are gonna be there. Obviously, hoping for a lot of reasons. Hoping South Carolina wins that game for sure. Schedule purposes, like that just makes it just makes it appear to be a better win, like a 31-7 win against even that defense. Sellers or no sellers, to be able to score 31 points on that defense is impressive considering what talent they have over there. They just hadn't figured it out. I think it's coaching at South Carolina.
The Mike Shula experience has not went well yet. They've been getting better, but I don't know what's going to happen.
I never thought it would be, and people were like, "Oh, yeah, it's Lenore Sellers." It doesn't matter if you have a bad coordinator. You have a bad coordinator. But, well, Mike, it's been fun. Like I said, Amazon Fire TV College Football Kickoff. I was on there last week. Probably will never be on there again. But hopefully Vanderbilt at the end of the season gives me another reason to make a return trip and another reason for me to pick Vanderbilt again, which I will never not do probably. But
if they go 9-3, you might, and there's a chance they do that.
Yeah. And Mike Huesmann, All Season After Dark, check him out. Does a phenomenal job. He is absolutely rolling like a freight train. So check him out. Don't miss it. SEC After Dark as well. Don't miss that. And Locked On Vandy, like, subscribe. I'm almost to 1,000. Anchor down. Peace.